My name is Kevin McManaman, and I'm here with the Facebook group Make a Stand in the Community. I'm here sitting with Julio Mendez, which is a Antioch Mayor candidate. Would you like to tell us a bit about yourself today?
Yeah, thank you so much for having me on. My name is Julio Jesse Mendez. I will be on the candidate for mayor, on the ballot for mayor this cycle, and I've been a 10-year resident of Antioch. Very excited to be a part of the actual decision-making element and the guidance element of this community. I think that we need to bring more people into the fold, and that's why I'm here. So like I said, I've been here for 10 years. I got my first real job here down there on Summersville Road. So you might, if I look familiar, maybe you've seen me there I started out as a just a kind of like a teller banker, and then I became a banker. Then I became assistant manager, and then I moved on to medical device company corporate from there, which was an incredibly interesting experience as well. Um, I've been also that was over in Dublin. I've been back here in the city of Antioch to do some renewable energy. That was something that I was drawn to. Structurally, the organization wasn't where it needed to be, so unfortunately, what I was told wasn't what I could. What showed up in the paycheck in terms of being able to support myself and things like that. So I actually bought my first house here so many years ago, and then I had to sell it around 3 years later. So that was kind of a tricky part. I found my footing again after selling the house. I moved into business development and software, and since then I've become a software sales engineer, working on solving multi-million-dollar and billion-dollar business problems for large corporations, and so I understand how even in these biggest companies that really focus on branding and things like that, things aren't always as pretty as they look. And I want to take the solutioning and problem solving that I've seen applied there, and I want to apply it and bring our community together. So that's just a little bit of a professional background. Yeah, if you have any questions, feel free to shoot.
Where are your favorite places to spend time in your neighborhood?
Oh yeah. So I'm in District 3, off of Blue Rock here in this area. So um, my favorite, unfortunately, we have the trails in the back, which are not super well maintained. I like to go in our community and do exercise and things like that. Uh, a lot of times, I notice in a lot of places that we have to visit, they go like Trader Joe's and things like that. They're not even in our city, which is kind of disappointing. Across the street, we have a nice little Starbucks. There's a good group of community members who actually get together out there, which I like to see, right? And so I would like to see more of that in our area. And in the waterfront, it's always nice to just kind of walk and go. There's some really beautiful views down there. So there's potential there, as everyone talks about, but there are things that we need to do, pretty quickly to really for us to tap into our potential, not just talk about it, right? So
Exactly.
yeah,
Yeah, I do feel your pain on the trails. The trails are always littered with dead grass and litter too. There's always
yeah,
trash on them. It's never a good place to look scenery wise. So
yeah,
I understand that. If you could change one thing in your zoning code, what would it be and why?
yeah. I think we need more multi-resident, multi-purpose, community-based codes, right?
Hmm.
So less of a focus on everyone having their own little private space to kind of hole up in, and more of us be an active and engaged community. Those are the things that I would like to see in terms of zoning. I would also like to see zoning restrictions go from these massive homes to maybe some smaller homes to get because prices are going, and we can actually create little micro communities around art and green energy and innovation and things like that. And that could bring a spirit of community and connection back into our city. And also, it helps us solve some of the other challenges I'm sure we're going to get into as well. So those are the things that I would like to see. I would like to see a more community-based approach to the way that we're building and that we're developing our city.
Awesome. Yeah, money can get us so far, but community is what actually brings the city together. Um, so, how do you plan to involve residents in the decision-making process in our town?
That's absolutely essential. I mean, we're wasting so much of our potential. We have over 100,000. I hear different numbers: 110,000, 115,000. There are a lot of people in our community.
Mm-hmm.
There are a lot of skilled people in our community. There are a lot of passionate people in our community. There are a lot of people who have been professional experts in their specific field who are retired now, and they have all that great knowledge, and it's just, and they could impart that on us as a community. And I see the way I see that we're working right now is we elect someone, and then it's like we outsource all decision making to that group, and then they do not take in the community in terms of decision making and things like that. And that's when you get just the vision of like 5 people represented in your city, and not the 110, 115,000 that actually make up the city. And there are whole swaths of population that are just not even, they're actually ignored, like they don't even exist. And if you continue to pretend whole swaths of the population don't exist, you're going to continue to see social deterioration. And that's going to come in increased crime, decreased home values, more litter on the street. People are not connected. They don't care about their community as much. And then you're going to get misdirected funds, right? You're going to get more money spent on post crime and investment in after the fact, after something happens, right? You're going to get more investment in consultants to come and solve the problem that the people on the ground who are living there that you're not even paying attention to can tell you straight up without paying $10,000, without paying $100,000. So that's what we need to get to, because we're being bled dry by kind of this above the fray decision making, right? When the real answers are actually in the community, the people who are pounding the pavement and sacrificing their time, their energy, and have invested already, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I've been watching the city council meetings the past like 3 or 4 months now, and
Mm-hmm.
I've noticed that they always ask for community outreach or community input, and when we finally do in overwhelming numbers, like you said, it's the votes of 3 that make our decisions, and they don't weigh into the hundreds of people telling them what they want.
It's like, yeah, the comments come in and it's like, okay, next we're going to focus on flagpoles or
Yeah.
window dressing. It's like, did you not just hear, like, is anyone going to address like the pain that was just surfaced up to you so that we can start, solving its challenge? How annoying. Could you imagine talking to someone and then you just pour out your heart to them, and then you talk about, oh man, the weather, or, it's the refrigerator. Oh, I wish that person would pick up their trash.
Yeah, exactly. It's kind of on both sides. I kind of see, like, nobody's willing to go into the middle, see both sides of the situation, and decide a solution. It just argue on one side, there's argue on another side, and I feel like
takes courage.
It does take courage, and it's frustrating. That's what I'm trying to get at.
And so I think that's one of the things that I bring to the table is I've seen, I've grown up in the South. I've got, I feel like a tremendously privileged person, but I've also seen some of the logic behind the way things work themselves out, some of the stories that people tell themselves not to change, some of the fears that lead us to continue to socially deteriorate. And so what I'm doing is I'm working to connect with our community and bring the best out of folks, because at the end of the day, we're all people. We all have love in our heart, and we want to connect with the people that we're close to and that we feel safe with. And we've got to get to a point where we feel safe with connecting with someone who doesn't look the same as me, right? We've got to get to a point where if I live in District 4, I feel safe connecting with someone in District 1, or safe connecting with someone who's homeless,
Yeah.
And that takes courage. But once you do, that opens you up to a world of possibilities in terms of like, how do we solve problems? How do we come together as a community? How do we create a reputation that we can all be proud of and all be excited about? And until we crack that code, you're going to continue to see this constant separation, and people are not going to be able to put their finger on a problem. And then you're going to get people who try to slice and dice things up into 1 or 2 issue situations, and we're going to continue to deteriorate, right? So it's time. We're in a crisis. It's time for us to come together and solve these challenges as a community. So
Awesome. The next question I have for you today is, if elected, what 3 steps would you take to put our city on a firmer financial footing?
Yeah, so the first thing that we need to do is do a full audit. Okay, we've had a lot of folks in there with their pet projects and money allocated here. We've gotten some funding from the state of California. We just need to do a full audit across our education, across our city expenditures, and it makes a ton of sense because all these decisions were made before COVID was even a consideration, right? And so we need to jump in and say, okay, crisis footing, where is our money allocated? We had this vision, but it looks like based on the way what our citizens are telling us, more people are losing their jobs. There's more food insecurity. We need to address these situations head on instead of kind of pretending nothing's happening. And then we get hit. We're just going to get broadsided. And that's what I'm concerned about when I see some of this, this political posturing and all this other stuff. We're kind of doing stuff that I see in our politics, stuff that's happening on the national level that's totally disconnected from, us on the ground looking in each other's eyes as neighbors. And following those patterns are not going to get us to solving problems. Like no one is really going to come and save Antioch. No one is going to. We have to look to each other and figure out ways to solve problems together. Now, what's beautiful is there's a lot of people in the community who are chipping in on their projects. You see some people are passionate about solving homelessness, and you see video, they're in the streets and they're rolling up their sleeves and getting it done. So shout out to like folks like Nicole Gardner and people like that who are doing things like that. But for every Nicole Gardner, there's 10 or 15 other people who don't even show up on the radar. My goal is to go to the community and find those people who are actively working. And those are the people that we need to elevate in our community. Those are the people that's going to bring beauty back to the city of Antioch and a sense of community. And if we learn to highlight those individuals and elevate those individuals and then push out like the political kind of players, we will have a community that other communities are going to look to and be like, wow, these guys have it figured out. So that's what I'm looking to create.
That's beautiful, man. I could have said it much better. I like your ideas for sure on elevating the people that are actually out there doing something instead of the people that are attacking these individuals all the time.
Image, yeah, and focus on the image piece, right? The image piece,
So the next question I have for you, Julio, is if you received a $1 million grant,
so,
I know it's not much, but what would you use it for the city? Any way you wanted, how would you do it?
Yeah, so like I said, we're in a crisis situation, so I would like to take a crisis footing. Mm-hmm. And I think 4 things that we could do very quickly is kind of like create like a base camp for solving challenges. So let's create a strategic base camp for solving homelessness, right? Mm-hmm. Not just it's shelterlessness. It's a little bit more than that. It's food insecurity. Homelessness is not just one, give them a home and everything's solved, right? Mm-hmm. It's a big collection of issues that we have to solve, and we have to look at it holistically. So we need to parse out, is this person homeless and jobless? Is this person houseless and jobless? No, this person actually has a job, but they're living out of their car. Do these families have kids? And then we can create solutions on how to do that. So I would invest in a base camp to start back into the economy, back into, it was a medical emergency, whether it is a trauma that they experience in childhood, that they turn to drugs to solve, and they're and then no one is reaching out to them to kind of help, connect the dots on how to get past something like that. Those are the steps that we need to take. And if we can create like a base camp for solving those problems, we can start doing a holistic approach, and then we can lead that up, and then we will lead the county and say, okay, we can't do this all on our own. We had this, we've done the questions. You need to do this exercise in your city and in these different cities in the area. And then we need to allocate funds and make sure that we're consistently solving this problem. So I think creating a crisis base camp around this, especially with COVID, there's going to be more jobs, there's going to be more financial insecurity. If we got $1 million, we definitely need to pour some effort into solving the problems. And then we leverage people in the community to solve those challenges. The same thing around, on the flip side, innovation. I would want a portion of that to go to an innovation-based camp. What are the jobs of the future? What are the industries of the future? And the innovation-based camp would be focused on local dollars and cooperatives specifically. How do we create organizations that are not like one board over in another state or another country decides where our money goes. And it's actually people in the community working to solve problems and growing and scaling right within our community. That is going to be the secret sauce to us having a bedrock foundation for being a community that everyone can look to. Start getting our, like I said, our retired professionals and our young, passionate school folks who are looking for to be part of the future and create an economy that works for everyone. Get them connected, and let's start innovate here in Antioch. So we have Silicon Valley. There's no reason why we can't be Innovation Bay or something like that, right? And so those are the things that I would like to focus on there specifically. And then community spaces and things like that, I think would be really nice. So community, but community with a purpose, right? The other thing that brings us all together, I think we need to invest in some sort of a communication platform for our whole city. I think Slack is one I see in a lot of different businesses using that brings like big teams together to solve problems. And I would also like to create a program that helps capture, like I said, let's give credit to these people who are giving their time. So if you give time, I want that captured somewhere in the city ledger, that this person surface those people up on a community website and say, these are your heroes. These are your local heroes. You need to talk, these are the people. If you want to know something, just connecting the dots on that stuff is going to create, it's gonna, everyone's operating in their little silos right now. And I saw these problems in businesses too. By connecting the dots, that's when you get all this compounding benefit and you get to learn from all these different people and really get to solving problems. And because we have care and we're neighbors and we actually love each other, that is going to lead to just a bit of a renaissance. And I think that is something that can save us in the crisis. When we know for a fact that the state and the national situation, they're not going to know the specific needs of Antioch for a while. But if we're doing this work on the ground immediately, day one, as mayor, when that money does come 2 years or 3 years, then we know exactly where to pour it, right? And we can proliferate those ideas. And that's why it's very important. I don't know if we just missed the census deadline. I hope everyone did the census deadline. That way, if they do allocate funds, we are getting the maximum amount there. But we cannot wait for Contra Costa. We cannot wait for California. We cannot wait for the national president or whoever it may be to solve our problems. We are going to have to come together and solve them. And with 100,000 people, there's nothing that we can't solve. There isn't. We've got the land. We have the space. We have the talent. We have the desire. We have the love in our community. There's nothing that we can't solve. We just got to come together to do it, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I like your 3-step plan right there, which was helping the homeless, transparency, I believe it was, and innovation. Innovation was struck to me a lot because I feel like we're not looking into the areas of Antioch that we're lacking. Or, I think I've seen another thing that you said on a different interview, which we were saying we don't have our own energy source in Antioch.
Yep.
Which should be like step one, you think, for Antioch.
Yeah.
Or any youth centers that we don't have. So we should be taking a census of our Antioch and seeing what there's a lack of and trying to figure that
absolutely.
out. Also, transparency that you're trying to say, that everyone's working in their silos. For me, first, just starting out doing my movement, I had to research who everybody was. Like, I didn't know who the mayor was. I didn't know who any of my city council members were. I had to go out and start researching myself. That's a huge problem because shouldn't we automatically know who our leaders are?
We should. And honestly, it's a little bit, you can have more control when you have different parties. They can control the outcomes a little bit better when only a few people vote. And when a few people do vote, they only vote on 1 or 2 issues, right?
Yeah.
And that's how these power structures kind of work. And we're at a point where, these power structures have failed us like really, really bad. And so we've got to kind of come together and solve for where they didn't solve, right?
Yeah.
And first we got to break away from our fixation on them, right? And look at each other and say, okay, what's going on in my community? I just talked to a neighbor outside, and I've been in my area for a while, and there's a lot of people I haven't even talked to. I mean, that's just the way that we are set up.
Yeah.
And then I talked to them, and she was saying that I have my own election group. I have my own group that I want to get people registered to vote. And there's so many people who are doing their own little projects, and we just need to connect them. And if the city comes in with a focus on connecting people, that in itself is going to be that's like a hidden wealth that we have. Yeah, it's a hidden wealth that we have that we don't leverage, and a lot of folks don't know how to leverage, and no one's really speaking to it. And I think that is our secret sauce. That's where we're going to come together and solve our community issues, right?
Okay. So the next question I have is probably the most important question. It's what's your stance on police reform and defunding? This is like huge right now in Antioch.
Yeah. So, and that's one of the things I'm saying. So it is from a political perspective with everyone on their sides, like, it is the most important question. But honestly, it's really, there are so many different elements that we need to, those things that I'm talking are really going to get us further than just hyper focusing on the word of defund, right? Mm-hmm. So whenever you give money to an organization of power, that's your tax dollars coming out of your pocket. We as a community, the 110, 115K of us, all of us, we decide if that money was allocated the way it's supposed to be. And so my position is we've given multiple raises to the police department. And I'm not seeing anyone saying, okay, where has this money gone? How is it being spent? And I'm hearing stories like to move a group of homeless people out of an encampment, it costs the city $50,000. You could build multiple tiny homes for that amount. So I believe that there's no question. The police unions are incredibly powerful. They have lots of advocacy for police. I think every single police officer should be able to raise a family, and we actually ask for 20 years of service, and we take care of them for the rest of their lives. There's almost no one in the economy that gets that type of a benefit. So we give a lot to have us coming into a crisis to have multiple people say, "Oh yeah, we're going to work. We're police first." Everyone's putting a star on it. We're endorsed by we're going to do what the police wants. We're just going to listen to what the police says. Is kind of you're putting yourself in a really tough place because the group already gets funding. They've already gotten 3 raises, and they've already got a ton of goodwill from a lot of people who are just passionate about supporting them. And then you're going to give all the positions of power, all the voting power to them as well. And so when you have that much power in one space, where does I think in the city that I've been here the past 4 years, I've seen it get dirtier and dirtier and dirtier. Like when I come off a lot of these exits, it's insane. Like it's like nothing is being taken care of there. And so let's not hyper focus on this. You are incredibly entitled to say, hey, where is this money going? And that's what I want to do. I want to audit. I want to get that data in a way that people can process it very quickly because everyone's super busy. So let's get out some basic pie charts and say, okay, this much went to police response to homelessness. Well, police response to homelessness should be like next to 0, right? Homelessness should be handled somewhere else. So that money should go to a group who can actually help homeless get into innovation and or some sort of a transitional program, right? Mm-hmm. And so, and if the only way is to leverage folks in the police department, maybe we create a homeless through the police, whatever we got to do, what our community needs, and allocate money accordingly.
Exactly. Yeah. Like you're saying, they shouldn't be on every call. Like for the homeless, the Corps should be dealing with the homeless. That's what I'm saying. 211, but and it costs, and if you're not trained as a police officer, and if you're not trained to really handle that, then we're filling them there, right? And then the police officer, the police officer kills a homeless person. That police officer needs to be gone, but that police officer has lost someone has lost their life. That police officer will have lost their livelihood, and all because we didn't allocate training and funding, and we sent the police officer to handle something that should have been handled somewhere else. So These problems they're all connected, right? It comes first circle. Like you were saying, we failed the officer for not giving him the training that he needed. So
giving him more weapons, and more instead of saying, okay, you operate in the community, and we need to get proactive, and you need to. I even heard Gabriel say something. It was a good idea. Offer water to some folks and have conversations and do different things like that.
Play some hoops.
Yeah. Don't just collar them and then joke about it. I mean, because when you collar someone who made a bad decision, they're in jail. Their life, it's going to be very hard for them to get back on the right track. That's a sad moment for everyone. I mean, that's a sad moment for everyone. It's not a joke. It's not funny. People's lives were at risk when you were collaring them. And now that person's gone, or now that person's got a whole bunch of problems on top of the problems that he might have caused the family. So let's get into where this all started. And where it started is us not paying attention to the structural elements and creating a community where we give everyone an opportunity. We constantly defund our schools. The thing is, when you defund your school, the backlash is going to be more crime, right? And then if you want your property to go up, how's that going to go up when your schools are totally defunding into one institution that really can't solve the problem at the level that it needs to be solved? So this is a nuanced conversation, and we need to stop looking at the national talking points and start looking at each other as neighbors, saying, how are we going to come together to solve this? And I'm going to bring groups together to make sure that we're having those tough conversations. At the end of the day, people care about this community. People want good things in this community, and folks have a heart. We don't have 50,000 psychopaths in our community, right? We just have people who don't understand. We're not connecting the dots for them. Everyone's kind of getting in their corner, and that serves a powerful interest, but it doesn't serve our interest as.
So the next question I have for you, Julio, is what would you do to help solve the homeless situation?
Yeah, so I think I touched on it a little bit, but the thing is, we have people who are already rolling up their sleeves and solving these challenges. So we need to we need to first take a crisis footing, because the homeless situation is not going to get less. It's going to get more. Mm-hmm. I mean, COVID it's no joke. Assets, but at the end of the day, the underlying economy that supports it, the money is not really coming down like it needs to, and there's no one really paying attention to that. And so that's going to be more food insecurity. That's going to be more homelessness. That's going to be more folks missing their rent, getting pushed out in the street. It's going to get worse before it gets better. So we got to take a crisis footing. It was yesterday that we should have set up that homeless or that houseless kind of innovation, kind of transition element. But hey, if this is the time when we all need to come together and say, look, these families that you knew and you cared, that look familiar to you, that are now being pushed out into the situation, is it time to do something now? Absolutely, right? And so I think we're going to come upon a time when we really say, okay, let's focus on these issues. I think we have like 6 shelters. People have helped us out, and we don't know what to do with them. And so we've been arguing about homelessness for a year, and we even got and that's what we got to change. We've got to head straight into this and say, okay, what is our current population of homeless? We need to go out and talk to these folks. I think it's better to actually have a police officer, build trust and then say, okay, how did you end up in this situation? And then elevate that information to the city council and say, okay, a lot of these homeless folks are coming from this situation here, right? And then, but in the meantime, we have people who are giving food and who are those who have trust of that community already. And so what we do is we're going to talk to them, get those stories, understand what the is, where it is, and then bring it into one centralized location with health services and things of that nature to solve the problem. My concern is we just got a hotel and we just put some people in there. Unless it's part of a very holistic plan of how you transition people away from their trauma, away from the indignity of homelessness, away from the fear, them feeling unseen and they just want to disappear and hide in different areas. That is a process, and we need to have different. We know that people are in different stages of that process, and we need to have a section that speaks to wherever someone is on this path of homelessness. We need to have a way out of that. So that's the first thing is creating this crisis center around how do we manage this holistic picture of homelessness. And a lot of it is just volunteers going out and talking and saying, how are you in this position? Or listening to the people who've been doing this for years and putting them in a place where they can solve at the city level, right? And they'll do it. Send our police forces to knock them out because they're human beings. It's going to get bigger. They need to settle just to eat and just a place to sleep. They're going to always have to find some place to settle for a minute. And we're just making it worse. And then we're spending, hundreds of thousands of dollars to make the problem worse for everyone. We're going
Yeah.
to flip that. We're going to listen, and then we're going to actually lay the groundwork for transition. And then we're going to take a lead in Contra Costa, and then we're going to surface that information up to Contra Costa. Also, if someone is, this is another idea that I like too. If someone is doing something in their community, like in San Francisco or Oakland or something like that, that's causing people to come up to our community, right? They are not taking care of their people. So I would be fully in favor of taking, figuring out what legal ramifications and trying to push them out on other people. And I see a lot of municipalities saying, "Oh yeah, push them over here, push them over here." That we're going to call you on that. If you have by a crisis, your job is not to kick them out somewhere so you don't have to look at them. You need to take care of people in your community, and you need to get. And we'll take a lead on this in terms of how we manage folks in our community who have been impacted here. So.
Yeah, I like the ideas. I like the holistic approach as well because I feel like just putting them in an area and giving them shelter and food is not going to solve their trauma issues. They're gonna need therapy, and it's a process. I don't. Yeah, they're not just gonna get shelter and food and then it's gonna be solved or whatever.
And you who've lived in your home and been kicked out of your home or have come out of that homeless situation, that will be able to connect with these people and will be able to guide them into the next step. And that's who you need. And when one district or one group of people completely ignores have that experience, that's why we continue to deteriorate. Because we don't even pay attention to we don't even value that level of expertise. We only value the expertise that this person has a consulting business. We don't value the expertise of someone who has gone through a tough stage and got out of it and wants to reach back and help other people do the same thing, right?
Exactly, because my family went through the same thing. I went, like, when I was younger, we lived in hotel room to hotel room, and when I was, like, 16, I was on the streets for a whole year. So, I've
so many stories. We got to get past the shame of discussing those things, because it's your story that's going to give other folks hope. Exactly. And then you are going to tell, this is how we got out of it, and that's going to streamline the ability for other folks to get out of it quicker, right? And then the folks who like people in privilege or who have come upon some positive momentum in their life, my community's better if I chip in there. It's better as a whole for me. I feel better as a person. That's the type of world that we could create. So.
Okay. So the next question I have for you is, if elected into Antioch Council, what changes would you implement for our city in regards to our current COVID-19 reaction, especially in terms of retaining small local businesses in distress, rent mortgage deferment, and eviction soon to follow, homeless protection, and mask requirements? You have kind of touched upon these and other answers, but could you please elaborate more?
Yeah, I would say because there was a lot of pieces there, right?
Yeah.
So the COVID crisis is going to affect us in multiple ways, and like you said, across multiple areas, and that's why we need to take a crisis response, right? We need to take a crisis response to hear these stories and figure out where to allocate the resources that we do have, where to demand resources. With our 110K strong, right? Mm-hmm. To say we got to educate our community on, okay, if we need to do these things to get these resources at this level, right? And we need to lean on this congressman or this governor or whatever the case may be, right? So it's going to be a multi-tiered approach, but I think the first step is just acknowledging we're in a crisis, right? Acknowledging that it's going to get tougher. And even if you're not someone who got put out on the street, yes, you're going to be uncomfortable when more and more people are in this position of, you're going to see families in cars and stuff, and that's going to hit you. It's going to mess with you. And so know that that's coming, and let's already start working on ways to come together as a community to make it better. And I think that's why, we acknowledge it. We listen, we learn to the stories, we find out specific areas that we can invest our time and our energy and our money to make things better. And then we take a leadership position in terms of where we're going to be in the future. And I think cooperatives are going to be a key part of that, where money flows within decision-making groups, employees. There's going to be a demand for green. There's going to be a demand for, there's digital finances coming up. Work from home opportunities. There's a lot of companies that didn't realize that almost everything they do could be handled from a computer remotely. That is a place for us to operate. 90% of our people are commuters. I would be sure to say a good chunk of our folks are in a position kind of similar to mine, where we're working from home now, and we get that commuting time back. So maybe give an hour, 15 minutes, 30 minutes, figure out ways that we can do a training program for someone in your community. Share your skills that you're learning on the job. Share your connections with people in your community. There's a lot of things that we can do, but we have to acknowledge that we're in crisis, and we have to open our hearts a little bit ahead of time before it all kind of comes down, and start laying that groundwork. And that's why you need a mayor who sees it that way from the very get-go, and is going to pull people into all those challenges. Not go hire someone with the very very important funds that we have left in this time, but actually pour into our own community and solve those challenges. So
yeah. What is your current opinion of the APD surrounding the community's concern over hiring practices budget, use of lethal methods, implication of non-lethal methods, and expanded public knowledge?
So I got hiring practices, and then it ended on expanding public knowledge. So from what I understand is we do set as the city council the hiring practices for our city. Mm-hmm. And I think the focus is accountability. If someone has a history of violence, they shouldn't be on the force, and we need to look at that deeper. If someone is especially in the direction where our community is going, right? And if you do make a mistake, you need to make it right. And if you don't make it right, then it's just going to fester in the community, right? And so those are the things that I think we need to focus on. And tough decisions are going to have to be made across the community as a whole. And everyone, no one is going to be safe from a hard decision. So that's. But if we make the tough decisions in the sand, we will be a stronger Antioch, and we will be stronger than a lot of other municipalities. We will be a leader. A lot of times I hear Antioch's the butt of a lot of jokes sometimes, and no one in our community likes that. Well, then let's get ahead of the curve on these things, right? Let's take ownership of them. Let's solve these problems, and let's show them that we're not afraid to have a tough conversation, that we're not afraid to do the right thing as a community, and that we will come together and we will solve problems. People are going to look to us and say, man, that community's together. That community's got it. That community's innovative, right? And so that's one of the things that I'm hoping. It's not me, honestly. It's just going to be me connecting the dots between people and allowing that to develop itself. And it's going to be people who are keeping that type of progress from happening to say, you know what? I need to take a look at this from a different angle, because the way I'm holding my position right now is really not making it better for anyone.
Yeah.
And then the tough decisions, we need leaders to make the tough decisions even before folks get to that point, right? Yeah. The whole community doesn't need to be up in arms before something gets done about a certain situation. It shouldn't. That's a lack of, that's a lack of leadership. So that's what we need to bring into the mix.
I can't wait till, like you were saying, like the negative aspect of Antioch turns into a positive aspect. I see countless negative memes of Antioch saying like, "Oh, we want to leave. It's so bad here. The crime is so bad." But there's no positive memes. Like we're like, "I love my community" or something like that. But
and I'll tell you, if you're not a billionaire, you're running out of places to go.
Yeah,
I'm telling you right now. There's honestly, you can try to get, I saw this in Brentwood too. Someone in Brentwood was saying, oh yeah, we moved out here and it was nice. And then now it's getting worse. The whole world is suffering in the same way because people at the community level are not coming together to solve problems.
Yeah.
They're allowing themselves to be divided, So let's take a lead. Let's break the cycle. That's why a lot of my signs change the narrative, right? We can do that if we come together and stop pretending things are okay, or stop pretending that this is a specific problem is coming from some talking point that someone put out that doesn't make sense, right? That doesn't gel with what you know as a human being when you look in your neighbor's eyes and you talk to people, right? So so I'm hoping we can get there. And I'm telling you right now, politicians are not the way to go right now. Not in a crisis. Like, you do not want politicians. You want change candidates. I think people kind of get that, and so I would focus on looking for. You have change candidates in those who are getting their hands dirty, who are sacrificing their time, their energy who are focused on solutions more than the past or personal goals, right? Let's focus on the challenges and solutions, and if you do that, you're not only this time will you get some good candidates, but you're going to get even more candidates. Someone said politicians should be changed like diapers; they should be changed frequently, right? And for the same reasons, right? And I believe that. I'm not a lifelong politician. I'm not planning on doing this, but I see that we need leaders to come together to solve problems, and I think I can do that for our community. And then when it's time, I think the community is going to be so strong that there's I can tell you, I think there's way better folks out there to lead this community over time. And but I think I'm your best candidate here right now, for sure.
Thank you. So the last question I have for you today is, out of the current council members for Antioch, who do you feel like your opinions and policies would mostly align with?
Yeah, that's tough. When the fact of the matter is there isn't a degree of urgency that I'm seeing from the city council. I'm seeing a lot of tweaking around the edges. I'm seeing a lot of like political, change this or tweak this or just vote here. No, we need something community based. Council right now that I'm fully kind of could say, yeah, I will say that there are good candidates in this race that we can look to. Even in my race, I think there's good candidates here that deserve a second, deeper look. There are people who are really willing to roll up their sleeves, get stuff done, and take a leadership position. And those people, regardless of what happens, they're going to continue to work in the community. So just make sure that you pull someone into these roles that is really dedicated to making these communities better and is looking outside of political calculations, right? But yeah, I would say, and in not being a politician, I will, because I ask a direct question. I do kind of like, so. Yeah, Monica will say I do like. So I wish she would have run for mayor too. That would. Yeah.
Awesome.
So, yeah.
Yeah, thank you for joining me today. You're clearly the people's candidate from what you're saying throughout this interview with me. You're going to look after the people, which is like the biggest thing right now. I don't think I've heard any candidate really say that. So yeah, thank you for joining me today. Was there anything that you want to close with?
Yeah, and I would say it's for the city of Antioch, right? So there are passionate people in this race, but there is a structural, holistic vision that I want us to move to that's morally and civically right. It's going to feel right in our guts, even across cultures and things like that. And so that is where I'm looking to get us all to and get us all focused on. And then I think all the other pieces are going to fall into place. And I think a lot of our really beautiful citizens are going to come together and make that vision real. And so there are people in this race who really care about people. So I'm definitely not the only one. And I know everyone does to a certain extent, right? Especially people in their immediate friends and family. But we have to look at everyone together, so.
Awesome. Good luck on your campaign, and I wish to do a follow-up with you in the future.
Thank you. I hope I didn't get myself in trouble. I honestly thank you everyone for taking a lead without any sort of I don't know, you don't get paid for this.
I have no funding. This is my own personal time.
This is beautiful. And we need to recognize that type of stuff. So
thank you.
All right.
Have a good one.
Thank you. Take care.